Sup everyone? It's been a point is yesterday wasn't a video. Should have been a Skyward Sword. Should have been a Skyward Sword episode. That wasn't because I was sort of working on this. By working on this, I mean sort of collecting my thoughts. Now at this point, I have no idea what I'm going to call this video. It's probably just going to end up being another Nathan talks about something. But today I want. Okay, so I'm going to say there probably won't be another. There won't be another Skyward Sword episode today, but there should be 3 tomorrow. I've got a lot of time. In fact, you know what also should be tomorrow? Finally, the goddamn finale, Fire Emblem Awakening. Jesus. But that's not what this thing's about. So I guess a little bit of backstory, I suppose. A couple of years ago, I watched a video, and then on Monday, I watched it again, and it got me thinking. Yeah, I won't specify, gonna leave that vague, but it got me thinking about Legend of Zelda, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, the things that people seem to love, but I don't like, and the things that I like that other people don't. I'll take Navi, for example. I kind of like Navi, and mainly it's because of my own experiences. I mean, let's go for my experiences. I'll go through that. Ocarina of Time was my first Legend of Zelda game, like it was for many people, and because of that, I would usually, well, not just because of that, but when I never really got hooked on Ocarina of Time until after Link turned into, you know, the adult version of himself. Before I thought it was just, fun, I guess. It was kind of a little bit boring. Because, okay, well, I'll explain that in a bit later, why I was like, don't really like it, it's alright, I guess, but... And because of that, I'd take large breaks from the game, so whenever I'd go back into the game, I'd usually ask Navi what to do, what I was doing. And Navi's not a complex character, she doesn't go through any development, she's sort of just there as a guide, and for someone who really needed it when they first played Ocarina of Time, I appreciated it and never actually came to hate Navi, even when... And I don't know why, but whenever she popped up with the, hey, listen, or whatever, and you had to press the whatever button, and, you know, to hear her speak, or there'd be the icon with Navi written on it, just flashing in the corner. For whatever reason, I would always press it. I don't know why. Even if I knew she was going to say the exact same thing, I'd do it. And sometimes I just sort of talk to the partner that you have for no reason. Like in Twilight Princess that I was playing through fairly recently. I don't know why, but I'd always, after something happened, I'd always talk to Midna. She usually wouldn't say much different. It'd be pretty much the exact same thing that she would say before the little maybe cutscene or something happened. But I'd still want to talk to her. So, yeah, there's that bit. So, now, okay, so another Legend of Zelda game that I've been playing through recently is A Link to the Past, and lots of people love it. Lots of people love that game. And maybe it has something to do with nostalgia, but no, I think it's probably because it's a pretty good game. I can't take that away from it. But me personally, there was something in it that was that stopped me from really liking it. I like the game, but it's not one of my all-time favourites, and it's mainly something at the beginning of the game. I've completed the game yet, I'm still doing the last few dungeons, but there's sort of okay, so I'll have to explain something here. When I go into a video game, I like both variety, but I also like something to feel familiar. Like, it doesn't have to be the same, but it's still got to be something familiar, but with a little bit of variety to it. Let's take Spirit Tracks, for example. Actually, let's do something a bit different to what I was going to do. Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. Phantom Hourglass, you have the Temple of the Ocean King. Everyone hates that thing. And then, you know, let's just cast that aside. Spirit Tracks did something very similar to it. huge dungeon that you keep on coming back to. But Spirit Tracks did it different enough that people like the like the going back to the dungeon and doing some more puzzles, whatever. But it's also familiar. You can tell that they sort of had the same ideas, and either it's just, like, get this thing, put it over here, and just work around it, make it do a Spirit Tracks rather than Phantom Hourglass. But to me, that was more taking an idea that didn't work and making it work. And the same thing goes for the traveling in Phantom Hourglass. It was pretty much a set track. You planned the course, and that was it. And in Spirit Tracks, it's sort of the same thing, but because it's not a boat, it makes sense. If you're on a boat, you want it to be like Wind Waker, where you can go pretty much anywhere. No, in Phantom Hourglass, you just sort of bob along, shoot things with the cannon. And, I mean, okay, sometimes, when I was going to somewhere that was really story relevant, I'd sort of, or, there are some bits where you would just circle around an island trying to shoot things, and, I thought that made sense. The circle around the island thing to shoot the rocks surrounding it, I'm not sure, I can't remember which island it was, but there was something like that. And that, for the plotting course thing, that made sense, because I'm pretty sure you also had enemies, if I remember correctly, you also had enemies attacking you, and if it was like the Wind Waker, you'd pretty much have to stop entirely to not only shoot the rocks, but also make sure you don't get hit by enemies. So, when you're doing it in Phantom Hourglass, it makes sense. But other times it doesn't. And that's a problem that I have with Phantom Hourglass. It is mine and so many other people's least favourite Zelda game. But it does still have redeeming qualities. Linebeck, for example. And also the humour in some places in the game, weirdly enough, is pretty good. So, now let's go back to what I was talking about with A Link to the Past. So, yeah, the variety but different thing. So, this might seem like I'm going to go on to something a bit different here when I start talking about my main problem with it. But the original Legend of Zelda, you'd got told nothing. You were dropped in, and that was it. You were just expected to go and walk around and find things yourself, because that was the idea of the game. Go on some adventure where you have no idea what you're doing. In fact, I'm sure some people didn't go into the cave, just sort of ran off to the side of the screen and got mobbed by enemies. I was going to say mobbed by moblins, but now, see, that's fine. That's great. I love that about the original Legend of Zelda. So now let's take it over to Ocarina of Time, and for the most part, it's a set track. You're told, oh, you need to go do this thing? Go and do it. And I'm alright with that, because, see, what it gave you a decently large overworld. It wasn't huge to the point of, oh man, I really want to go over there, because it was, okay, so you were given a task when you didn't really know what the outside world was going to be like, Hyrule Field, because you were in the Kokiri Forest and whatever. You're going to go out into Hyrule Field. You didn't know how big Hyrule Field was going to be, so you don't want to, sort of don't want to stray from your intended path, so, you get lost and whatever, I don't know. I got lost in Hyrule Field a few times when I first played Ocarina of Time, I'm not gonna lie there, but, yeah, you can go run around there or whatever, but you wouldn't go too far because it's a big area. And unlike the 2D Zeldas, there isn't, the individual screens that separate it. Now, in A Link to the Past, you're given this huge overworld, but you're set a task to go on, a set path. I mean, it's a problem that I have with the game. When you start off, there's only one place to go, really, and for you it makes sense. go to the castle, help Zelda out, whatever. That's fine. It's all good. That bit doesn't matter. But then when you have to go to Kakariko Village, then you have to do a bunch of specific, well, a bunch, more like 2 specific things, and you're told you've got to go somewhere, and then you do it. But see here, it sort of doesn't work as well, because before, you know, the Hourglass thing, getting to Kakariko, you sort of had a little bit of freedom. And then you go to the first temple, dungeon, whatever. You go beat that, and then it put on the map, once you get the first pendant of whatever, you get the two next ones, you know, Wisdom and Power. And I'm pretty sure that's right. And they both come up on the map, but, or to my knowledge anyway, you can only get to one before you go to the other, but they still put both on the thing, which is no, it's not, and see, then it also carries over into the Dark World, you know, the second, not really half of the game, because that bit, like, the second third of the game. You have to go to one specific place, and then the entire map opens up to you, you know, 2 through 7. But you have, or again, to my knowledge, you have to go to them 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because there are some items you can't get to go into the next dungeon. Well, I mean, you could, I guess, go into a dungeon, get the item, come out of that dungeon, go to whatever dungeon you wanted to go to, but why would you do that? If you're already in a dungeon, that means you've got the big key to get the item, which means you can go fight the boss. And it's a problem I have with A Link to the Past, I guess. And, see, in Ocarina of Time they do a similar thing, with a forest fire and water temple, but to my knowledge you can interchange between them. Can you hear that outside? Dude's talking outside. But, I mean, I don't really know that. But, the Shadow Temple and the Spirit Temple, either or. You can go to either one first. I mean, you're most likely to go to the Shadow Temple, like pretty much everyone does first. But you could also go to the Spirit Temple first. And going to the Spirit Temple makes sense, because in Gerudo Valley, or Fortress, or whatever it is, I can't remember. I haven't played that far in Ocarina in a little while. You can get the Ice Arrows, which are a weakness that the Shadow Temple's boss has. So, I mean, while the Shadow Temple's boss isn't the hardest thing in the world, you can go over to the Spirit Temple and get an item that it's weak to, because Shadow Temple, dude, you just kind of shoot it with the bow. Doesn't require the hover boots at all. So, So yeah, that I think, and something else that I'm kind of pooping on A Link to the Past here in this video, but in Ocarina of Time, something that I think it does better, well, I say only slightly, quite a bit better, I think. Not entirely, but quite a bit better, or seemingly, again, I haven't played the entire way through A Link to the Past yet, but in A Link to the Past, all the maidens or whatever that you're rescuing, they're just sort of generic characters. They don't have their own character, really. Or, again, so it seems, I haven't played the whole way through the game yet, so I don't know if that changes. And in Ocarina of Time, there is some, like, Raru, yeah, that guy's got no character, he just sort of is there. And, Impa, and, Naburu, Buru, whatever. Again, kind of, But of course, the first three, Saria, Darunia, and Ruto, Darunia to a little less of an extent, but you got to know those characters. They were actual characters, not just reskins, I suppose. And then in A Link Between Worlds, I think it's done very well. Because in the style of the game that A Link Between Worlds is, where you can actually go anywhere in any order, well, almost in any order. You do need the Sand Rod to get to the Sand Temple, which means that, you know, there is always going to be one painting you can't get first. Which, I mean, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But, yeah, so all of those characters that are the paintings, the sages that you rescue, they are their own character. And you sort of get to know a lot of them. Some of them only sort of have the Ocarina of Time thing where they only appear once. And you sort of get to know them a little bit. And sometimes you have to go out your way to talk to them, because otherwise they just sort of give you something and, go going. Do something, go get an item or something. And, I mean, that's alright, I guess. Because, I mean, point is, I think A Link Between Worlds did the sages correctly. I think A Link to the Past did it. And Ocarina of Time, I think did it sort of right. They got it enough so you recognise, except Rauru, of course, but he's sort of made to be like that. Well, you sort of recognise all the sages, even Nabooru, which makes sense because you sort of help her out throughout the Spirit Temple, and whatnot. But yeah, I think A Link Between Worlds does it the best out of those three. Now I don't want to go into half an hour, so you know I'm going to just jump to one last thing I want to talk about, and that is Zelda, the character, not the series. Zelda. A big problem that I have with any Zelda game, really, is that Zelda doesn't do much. Let's take Ocarina of Time, for example. Child Zelda tells you to go find 2 spiritual stones, that's it. Adult Zelda gets kidnapped, that's it. I mean, you can say, yeah, she was Sheik. What did Sheik do? Teach you some songs. I mean, sure, Sheik looked cool and sort of seemed cool, but really all Sheik did was teach you some songs and tell you where to go. Man, I just sort of, I don't know. Again, it's a problem I have with Ocarina of Time. It's, again, one of the reasons I don't think it's the greatest game of all time. Man. And then, of course, you have Majora's Mask. Well, was in it half a scene. Was pretty much all Zelda was there for. Which is fine, because it's not Zelda's story. Which is another thing that Twilight Princess did, which was sort of like Majora's Mask 2.0. You know, its own thing, of course, but, you know, sort of had the dark sort of atmosphere. Although I'd say that Majora's Mask was a more dark and creepy. Twilight Princess was more scary. I mean, not wet your pants scary, but, you know, the scene with the Dark Links, and also Zant for most of the game. What can I say? More scary. I mean, yeah, Majora's Mask has the moon, but for the rest of the game is sort of just depressing. And I mean, I like that about the game. Actually, I kind of like it about both games. I can respect them both in their own right. But going back to Twilight Princess, Zelda isn't in the story, but it's also not her story. It's also Midna's in this game, which is emphasized by the Twilight Princess. Midna is the Twilight Princess. It makes sense. And it goes well, it works well. Zelda's not in it much, but it's also not Zelda's story. Zelda doesn't need to be there. Granted, Ganondorf also doesn't need to be there. He's there anyway, but he's... But it all sort of works out. Twilight Princess has the Zelda not being there, but it also makes it all fit together nicely. Just like Majora's Mask. Zelda doesn't need to be there, it's not her story. Twilight Princess, it's not her story. That's how it works. I mean, of course... Now I'm going to move on to, going to jump to the Toon Link things, because, I mean, the originals are just sort of, oh, Princess, save her. That was it. That was about it. So I'll jump to the Wind Waker Toon Link things. So, well, I was saying I was going to start with the Wind Waker. I'm going to start with Minish Cap, actually. Minish Cap? The Zelda... So Zelda was sort of a character at the beginning, and it wasn't there for the rest of it. She was stone. Oh, just like in Phantom Hourglass, actually. But you see, in Phantom Hourglass, it wasn't better, of course. But in Phantom Hourglass, Tetra didn't need to be developed as much, because Tetra had the Wind Waker. I mean, that's not an excuse, for it to just dump Princess Zelda / Petra just on the side. But yeah, I mean, it's not like, so in Minish Cap, of course, you sort of got a different Zelda. In Phantom Hourglass, you already had that Zelda be in another game, and she was her own character, and likable enough, I guess. Whatever. And of course, Wind Waker, Princess Zelda was, Tetra, but in this game she was sort of more present than Sheik was, because she didn't just teach you some music. She was also sort of the guide, through the weird stone thing. I mean, she wasn't the guide, the King of Red Lions was the guide, but she sort of had that thing going with her, which leads me on to Spirit Tracks, which I think did Zelda well. So did Skyward Sword, but I'll get to that in a second. I think Spirit Tracks did it rather well, and I'm pretty open in my liking of Spirit Tracks. I really do like the game, and it would seem that a lot of other people do. It's sort of like that closet game that people really, really like, but it's sort of outmatched by the other ones. Probably because it's on the DS. The DS Zelda games aren't fantastic. And there's only 2 of them. But, I mean, of course it's better than Phantom Hourglass. I think no matter what, any Zelda game is better than Phantom Hourglass. And no matter how much you hate Skyward Sword, nuh-uh, buddy. Nuh-uh. There's nothing in the Zelda that is... I mean, I'm saying there's nothing worse than Phantom Hourglass. We all know that's not true. We all know that that's not true. CDI. That doesn't matter. Back to Spirit Tracks. See, now, of course, Spirit Tracks doesn't have the advantage that Minish Cap had, the Princess Zelda had, of sort of having Link know her beforehand. But of course, in Minish Cap, she's sort of just cast to the side. In Spirit Tracks, for once, she's one of the main characters. And by one of the main characters, I mean she's always there. I mean, of course not always, there's a little tutorial section where she's not there, but isn't that the same with most of the guides? I mean, of course not with Navi, but that's sort of the idea with Navi. And I mean, Majora's Mask doesn't have much without Tassel, but there's something. Twilight Princess, the long and arduous beginning section, the famously long, boring beginning section, then you meet Midna and it kind of speeds up a bit. But yeah, Spirit Tracks of course has the advantage of Zelda always being there. Zelda's always present, and having her sort of be the guide / sidekick this time around, I think is great. I think that was a really good idea. Should it be done again? No. Look, man. Once was fine. You don't bring the other guides back. Was Navi back? No. Was Tassel back? No. Well, I mean, shouldn't be. Tassel was sort of, Termina's sort of left alone now. Midna back? No. Was Eslo back? No. Was Fee back? Technically, because she's in the Master Sword and whatever. But, shush. Was the King of Red Lions back? No! Well, he died, technically, or drowned, whatever. But no! Of course he wasn't! You don't bring the guides back. Well, unless you're Linebeck, in which case you sort of turn up in Spirit Tracks. But that's besides the point. I say that a lot, don't I? I haven't said it much recently, but it's back. It's back, guys. You didn't miss it, but it's back. You might not even noticed it was gone, but it's back. So, yeah, I mean, you know, having Zelda as the guide, that was a good idea. Again, shouldn't be done again, because that's not how the guides in Zelda work. Or it could be done again, and maybe it's done better. Maybe it's done really well. And then we get it again, and just decide, no, don't want that. But, you know, I mean, what can you do? Huh? And I mean, and then what leads me... Okay, so, Spirit Tracks, I think, did Zelda right. But the relationship... Well, the relationship was done pretty well, because you can see it develop. See that? No, hold on, I'm gonna jump to Skyward Sword here. Skyward Sword sort of also did Zelda right. But what I didn't... Well, okay, well, I haven't, of course, finished Skyward Sword yet. I plan not to, but, you know, until the Let's Play. I plan to do it with the Let's Play. But, you know, the Let's Play is gonna take a while, alright? Legend of Zelda games are long games. I have no idea how long it's gonna be, alright? So I'll probably just play it in my own time, so I know what I'm doing. But, yeah, so, I mean, you can see Link and Zelda's relationship develop in Spirit Tracks, but in Skyward Sword, it's already there. That's not a bad thing, mind you, but it's already there. It's not... It's good, but, you know, if it developed further, because it's sort of already at the peak of what it could be at the beginning of Skyward Sword. So, and in Spirit Tracks, they go from absolute strangers to, you know, the scene right near the end. You know, it's sort of a build-up, you know? I mean, Zelda's not thrilled at the beginning to be your sort of sidekick at the beginning of the game. And then, by the end of it, you know, you're high-fiving, you're smiling at each other, you're having a good time, you know? And the one little, you know, when the camera pans down, it's lovely. It's lovely. Gorgeous. I love it. And then, of course, there's also the I'm pretty sure it's after-credits scene. You know, and Link's either in the train, or in the training grounds, or not there at all! That kind of detracts a bit, but, you know. But, yeah, okay, so I could talk more, I could talk longer, I could talk more in detail about things, but chances are no one's watched through 27.5 minutes of this video, so, yeah, let's... So, call an end here. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you tomorrow, probably, hopefully, for 3 episodes of Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, and Friday should also be an episode of Skyward Sword, and we should hopefully have a goddamn finale of Fire Emblem. I see you sitting there. See you there. You are going to be played tomorrow. You're going to be played good. I've been training for a while, actually. You're gonna get done good, mate. Anyway, guys, I'll see you tomorrow for another video. 3 videos, probably, hopefully, should be good. Anyway, guys, well, maybe even 4, maybe 5! I have 2 Fire Emblem things I need to do. I have the bonus video and the finale. Maybe 6, might be in 2 parts. Anyway, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, for realsies this time. Toodaloo, whatever, cheerio, get out of here, don't leave. Maybe go check out some other videos. But I'll see you guys next time.